Welcome to another production of Source Selection Soundbites. These productions foster learning, insight, and the ability to perform. Today's topic is lowest price technically acceptable best value methodology. Today we will discuss the definition of LPTA, when LPTA is appropriate, and recent additional guidance. The lowest price technically acceptable or LPTA source selection process, as outlined in FAR 15.101-2, is appropriate when best value is expected from selecting the technically acceptable proposal with the lowest evaluated price, where factors other than price or cost are evaluated on an acceptable versus unacceptable basis and no trade-offs are permitted. Best value can be obtained in a number of ways, but the most basic way of determining the emphasis of a procedure within the best value continuum is examining the relationship between price and non-price factors. As you can see, the LPTA best value methodology is at the far left of the continuum. This best value methodology has the heaviest emphasis on price or cost. In fact, it is the most important factor in the acquisition once proposals have been determined to be technically acceptable. Technically acceptable means a proposal has met the minimum technical requirements and complied with the terms and conditions outlined in the solicitation. Once this has been verified, a proposal is eligible for consideration for award based on price. LPTA is appropriate where requirements are well defined, risk of unsuccessful contract performance is minimal, price is a significant factor in the acquisition, and there is no value, need, or willingness to pay for higher performance or quality. In addition, all technical acceptability factors are equally important because all must be satisfied in order for an offeror to be eligible for award. DoD added guidance over a decade ago in 2011. It states that LPTAs may be used in situations where the government would not realize any value from a proposal exceeding the government's minimum technical or performance requirements. It added specificity by saying that often this applies to acquisitions of commercial or non-complex services or supplies which are clearly defined and expected to be low risk. Even with this earlier guidance, COs still had wide discretion to use the LPTA best value methodology. Some in industry began to clamor that the methodology is overused and warned of its negative effects on the industrial base. If the trend toward greater reliance on LPTA continues, they warned, then there is a worry that industry will react by more closely adhering to the letter of each and every contract. As a result, government acquisition officials will have to spell out all requirements, including the smallest details that may have gone unspecified in the past, in order to ensure that the needed requirements as envisioned by the government are fully met. In addition to this complication, government and industry officials saw that its overuse would impact quality and deprive the government of innovation. As a result of these concerns, legislation was passed and additional guidance was added to the FAR. In civilian agencies, the CO must take several things into consideration, such as whether the description of the requirement is sufficiently clear, the fact that the agency would realize no or minimal value from proposals exceeding minimum requirements, and other considerations. In addition, the determination to use the LPTA methodology must be documented in the contract file, describing the circumstances that justify its use. Once the FAR sets forth the justification process, it also erects additional barriers by naming specific products and services that to the maximum extent practicable, the contracting officer shall avoid using the LPTA method when purchasing them. For DoD agencies, the DFARS also contains additional guidance. It's very similar, but a bit more detailed guidance than civilian agencies. In addition to this barrier, just like the FAR, the DFARS erects additional barriers by naming specific products and services that to the maximum extent practicable, the contracting officer shall avoid using the LPTA method when purchasing them. To wrap things up, let's review what we discussed. We discussed the definition of LPTA. Second, we discussed when LPTA is appropriate. And third, we discussed recent guidance and restrictions on the use of the LPTA best value methodology. Thank you for watching another episode of Source Selection Soundbites. For additional information, check out some of the other videos in this series, other productivity partners materials, or our Source Selection Answer app that is available on the Google Play Store and Apple Store. In any event, thanks for watching, and see you next time.